When most people think of modern wars, they imagine tanks rolling across fields, fighter jets in the skies, and soldiers dug into trenches. But in the 21st century, there is one battleground that often decides the fate of nations without the world even noticing. It is not land, it is not air, it is the sea. And nowhere has this been clearer than in the Black Sea, where Ukraine and Russia have waged a shadow war of naval battles, blockades, and daring strikes. A war that has changed how the world looks at naval power in the modern age. The question is, how did Ukraine, a nation with virtually no significant navy, manage to stand up to Russia, one of the largest naval powers in the world? And how has this battle for the Black Sea reshaped the course of the wider war in global politics? The story begins in February 2022. Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine, expecting a quick and decisive victory. Russian tanks crossed borders, missiles struck cities, and Russian warships moved aggressively into the Black Sea from the start. The Kremlin had a clear plan: control the Black Sea, cut off Ukraine's access to vital trade routes, and establish dominance from the sea to the land. On paper, it looked unstoppable. Russia's Black Sea Fleet, headquartered in Sevastopol, Crimea, was one of its crown jewels. It included advanced missile cruisers, submarines, frigates, corvettes, and amphibious landing ships. In comparison, Ukraine's navy was tiny. Most of its ships had been captured when Russia annexed Crimea in 2014. Ukraine had little more than patrol boats, outdated vessels, and a handful of small craft. The balance was so lopsided that military analysts predicted Ukraine's navy would be irrelevant. But the world was about to witness one of the most surprising naval stories in modern history. Only days into the invasion, the world heard a transmission that would echo as a symbol of defiance. On Snake Island, a tiny rocky outpost in the Black Sea, Ukrainian border guards were ordered by the Russian cruiser Moskva to surrender. Their response became legendary. Russian warship, go. Well, you know the rest. Within hours, the defiance of Snake Island went viral. It was not just words. It was a symbol that Ukraine would resist, no matter the odds. And that resistance soon turned into action. Ukraine's first major naval triumph shocked the world. In April 2022, Ukrainian forces used domestically developed Neptune anti-ship missiles to strike the pride of Russia's Black Sea Fleet, the Moskva. This guided missile cruiser was not only heavily armed, but it also served as the flagship of Russia's fleet in the Black Sea. Few believed Ukraine could even touch such a vessel. But the missiles hit their target. The Moskva caught fire, exploded, and sank beneath the waves. Overnight, Russia had lost its most powerful warship in the region. For Ukraine, it was a turning point. For Russia, it was humiliation. The Moskva was not just a ship. It was a symbol of Russian naval might. And its loss forced Russia to pull back its larger vessels farther from Ukraine's shores. But the sinking of the Moskva was only the beginning. Ukraine understood that it could not match Russia's ship for ship. Instead, it turned to creativity, innovation, and asymmetric warfare. Ukraine began developing and deploying maritime drones and boats packed with explosives, capable of sneaking past defenses and striking Russian ships and ports. These sea drones, combined with long-range missiles and Western-supplied weapons, began to change the game. Suddenly, Russia's ships and bases in Crimea, once considered untouchable, were under constant threat. Ukrainian strikes hit the port of Sevastopol multiple times, damaging warships, fuel depots, and even submarines. For the first time in decades, a smaller power was proving that a traditional navy could be challenged and defeated by ingenuity, of course. The Black Sea battle has never been only about ships. It has always been about control. Control of trade, of supply lines, of energy routes. Ukraine is one of the world's largest exporters of grain. Its wheat, corn, and sunflower oil feed millions in Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. But with Russia's fleet blockading Ukrainian ports, that lifeline was choked. The world began to feel the shock. Food prices soared, and fears of famine spread across vulnerable regions. To address this, an international deal brokered by Turkey and the United Nations The Black Sea Grain Initiative allowed Ukraine to resume some exports through a safe corridor. For a while, it seemed like a fragile balance was achieved, but the agreement was always under Russian control. And in 2023, Moscow pulled out, threatening once again to strangle Ukraine's economy. And here is where Ukraine's naval campaign became more than just defense. By striking Russian naval assets in Crimea, Ukraine forced Moscow to reconsider its dominance. Russian warships became too vulnerable to patrol freely near Odessa or along Ukraine's coast. Shipping lanes once under Russia's thumb slowly began to reopen with Ukraine's daring counterattacks. Ukrainian grain once again began to move through the Black Sea, despite Russia's attempts to intimidate global trade. In a twist no one expected. Ukraine, the underdog with no navy, is rewriting the rules of maritime warfare. But the story of the Black Sea is also the story of history repeating itself. For centuries, the Black Sea has been a crossroads of empires. The Ottomans, Byzantines, the Russians, all fought for dominance of this strategic body of water. Control of the Black Sea has always meant influence far beyond its shores. During the Crimean War in the 1850s, Britain and France fought alongside the Ottoman Empire against Russia to contain its expansion. In World War II, the Black Sea was again a stage of naval battles between Germany, the Soviets, and their allies. And now, in the 21st century, the same waters are shaping the outcome of another great conflict. What makes this naval struggle extraordinary is how it has reshaped global perceptions of naval warfare itself. Traditionally, navies were about massive fleets, aircraft carriers, and billion-dollar warships. Ukraine, with its resourcefulness, has shown that sea drones, land-based missiles, and precision strikes can neutralize a superior fleet. The sinking of the Moskva was not just a Ukrainian victory, it was a message to every nation watching. The age of vulnerable big ships may be coming to an end. For NATO, for China, for the United States, the lessons of the Black Sea are being studied closely. Because what is happening between Ukraine and Russia is not just about those two countries. It is about the future of war at sea. Russia, of course, has not given up. Its submarines continue to lurk in the Black Sea, launching cruise missiles at Ukrainian cities. Its warships, though pushed back, still pose a threat to commercial shipping. And the Kremlin knows that control of Crimea and the Black Sea is essential to its regional ambitions. But every strike Ukraine delivers against Russian naval targets chips away at that control. The once-proud Black Sea Fleet now hides behind layers of defenses, wary of the next Ukrainian surprise attack, and the stakes are enormous. For Ukraine, breaking Russia's naval blockade is not just about pride. It is about survival. Its economy, its ability to feed the world, its very sovereignty depend on keeping the Black Sea open. For Russia, losing control of the Black Sea would mean losing one of its most vital strategic assets, undermining its influence not only in Ukraine, but across the wider region. That is why the battle for the Black Sea matters far beyond the waves. It is tied to the fate of cities, the outcome of battles on land, and even the stability of global food supplies. What happens next could reshape the war entirely. If Ukraine continues to push Russia back in the Black Sea, it can not only secure its trade routes but also threaten Russia's hold over Crimea. Without safe naval bases, Russia's grip on Crimea weakens. And if Crimea becomes vulnerable, the entire Russian war effort could falter. That is why every drone strike, every missile launch, and every naval skirmish carries weight far beyond the immediate battlefield. But this isn't the end. The battle for the Black Sea is still unfolding, with new twists yet to come. Ukraine's ingenuity shows no sign of slowing. Western support continues to introduce new technologies, from advanced missiles to intelligence systems that make every Russian move harder to hide. Meanwhile, Russia clings to its fleet, trying desperately to maintain an image of power that reality keeps chipping away. The Black Sea, once seen as Russia's safe backyard, has become a contested and dangerous arena. The story of Ukraine versus Russia's navy is a story of David and Goliath. But with a modern twist, it is about a smaller nation refusing to be strangled, using creativity and courage to challenge a larger foe. It is about how the sea, often ignored, has become one of the most decisive arenas of the war. And it is about how the future of warfare itself is being tested, shaped, and rewritten in the waters of the Black Sea. So the next time you hear about the war in Ukraine, remember, it is not just about tanks in muddy trenches or missiles striking cities. It is also about the sea, where drones, missiles, and bravery are rewriting the rules. The battle for the Black Sea is not over. In fact, it may just be beginning. And what happens there could decide not only the future of Ukraine, but the balance of power across Europe and beyond.